What does that mean to you, returning to the continent? And when you hear people say, I'm going back home, what is often the connotation?
We talked about it.
Yeah.
What is the number one way a person in Africa can become wealthy, generate wealth? What's the number one route?
Either leave the continent or
You climb your corruption ladder.
So if you worked an honest career in Nigeria and you were a lawyer or a banker or whatever, and now you're looking at retirement, the Naira is almost worthless. Because
Will
you
you
went
go
from
back?
paying, I want to.
We all want to, but will you really go back?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tribes people of the world, welcome back.
Yes, sir.
Come back. We're back. Boys are back. Season 7, episode 2. Season 7, episode 2. I go by the name DJ Anzo. I'm here with my brother, Young Money, Uncle E.
Come on.
We are the Joel and Mr. Muddy podcast. If you don't know us by now, we are two African millennials in the diaspora canoeing through this thing we call life. And as we go through that river of life, we are trying to edutain you, as we call it, on all things African, whether that's culture, food, heritage, politics, music,
History,
all that and the above. This is a place to come. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. All our returning listeners and guests, we are glad to have you back. Today is a bit of a, should I say, hot topic.
tough one.
Tough one. And one that is transcends generations.
Yeah.
It doesn't start here or end here. It's ongoing. And I'd love to talk about this today. And my topic of the day is returning to the continent. A lot to be said around that.
Highway to Africa.
Highway to Africa. The first thing I should say is what does that mean to you, returning to the continent? And when you hear people say, I'm going back home, what is often the connotation with that?
Well, usually is they build a house and after spending 30, 40 years abroad, they're finally going back home to assimilate back into society, life there.
And to retire.
Yeah. So that's what traditionally if I would see Gambians abroad returning back, that's kind of how I typically see it as.
Yeah.
30, 40 years out.
Yeah.
Back home.
I think a lot of Africans would align with that train of thought. We usually go back to retire, right?
Yes.
I have a problem with that.
Please enlighten me.
My issue with that is the continent hasn't improved at the rate that it can if we were doing that if we were contributing at an earlier stage in life.
From when they left.
Correct.
Which is somewhat in 80s or 90s.
80s, 90s, 2000s.
And now you're returning back, let's say now.
Right.
So you're saying
a whole lifetime has happened.
So lifetime has happened.
And here, without being too harsh, the most that has been contributed is remittance, right? Which is a whole industry. And then the few people that were employed to build your home back home. And now you've come back home.
Yep.
I have a fundamental problem with that. But I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying I have an issue with
Systematically?
that. Yes. And I have what I think are solutions, but I will get into that. So here's my first question. At a high level, do you think it's feasible for everyone to return home?
No.
Okay.
100% not. We don't need everyone to go back to Africa, quite frankly.
So you're not listening to the right.
No. I mean, it's a Cinderella story of some sorts.
Okay.
Because one, most of our economies are not self-sufficient. Like you mentioned, we're reliant on remittances. Our economies are fueled, families are fed by other family members abroad, exchange rate parity, yada, yada. They can send money back home to sustain people mainland. So if those people now leave and then return back, there is not enough of an economic engine back home in our countries, failure of us post-colonialism, to sustain, let's say, that family.
Yep.
So our economies, our countries are built on breadwinners being abroad.
Okay.
And if you happen to find yourself being the breadwinner abroad, you can come back home for holidays, but if you're going to return, what's the trade-off?
Okay.
Individually, like you mentioned, it's you deserve to retire back to the country you're from.
You should.
You've
worked a long, hard life.
Long life abroad, and it wasn't easy. But a big part of it is also with the rising cost in Africa. Is it sustainable? Do most Africans who return back to quote-unquote retire, can they really retire in Africa for 20, 30 years without earning an income after they build a house and everything?
I haven't researched that, but I would guess individually, yes. But based on how we live as community-based individuals, I don't think. Here's my main issue, and maybe you can try to see where I'm going with this, but in most styles of governance and political economies, I haven't seen a stellar example of something that can stand the test of time on the continent. Here's what I mean by that. Obviously, we've had our post-colonial depressions and so forth, and even civil wars with a lot of countries.
Coup d'etats.
There's been a lot of just turbulence from governance and just political economy. A thought I was having is we actually can't really expect more right now because there's nothing that's systemically set up to withstand that test. What I mean by that is January 6th was a huge point in U.S. history because that was one of the first times, if not the only time, in modern U.S. history where the integrity of the government was tested.
Yep.
And so if your infrastructure, political infrastructure, or your government has been tried, and now the one thing that's held its integrity, which is the institution, is being challenged, of course you go up in arms about it, right? The left and people from the right, everyone, at least most people, unilaterally agree that this thing was a threat to our democracy and therefore a threat to our way of life in this country.
Yep.
On the continent, we have a lot of examples of what we call strong men. And I think there's a place for strong men, right? Because you do need to, sometimes you need to strong arm people into things that are good for them. We've seen examples of that.
Yes.
That's not to say people are without flaws. However, what happens when the vacuum is now presented when the strong man is gone? We just see that stark fall right back to reality. We've seen examples in Libya. Libyans lived a great life. Let me not speak for all of them, but objectively speaking, Libyans lived a good life under
the strong man.
The strong man. He comes, or the Arab Spring comes, uproots him, and now he is back to kind of square one, right? If we look at other examples of political, or I should say of styles of governance that are still holding the test of time, and this is not a statement of admiration, it's a statement of fact. Look at the Saudi Arabias. If we look at the monarchies of the world, those institutions haven't been challenged, or they may have been challenged, but remain, and their structural integrity remains because there is a system of governance that can stand the test of time. And on the continent, I'm not seeing a solid example where we can say, yo, once this strong man is gone, the system will prevail.
Regardless.
You get what I'm saying? And we see examples of that all over the continent. Paul Biya, what are you still doing in power?
The strong man is the system in Africa. The president, the leader is the system.
Yeah.
And when the president/leader leaves, the system falls
apart.
Another new guy comes in and builds. He is now the system.
His own system.
And we start and stop, and we look back 40, 50 years, 60 years.
Not much has changed.
Not much has changed.
And so in returning to the continent, that's what worries me the most, is you can have a phase of prosperity. I think a great example of that is Nigeria.
Yep.
Over the past 10 years, I think inflation has seen something like a 700% plus raise against the dollar, right? So if you were an honest career in Nigeria and you were a lawyer or a banker or whatever, and now you're looking at retirement, the Naira is almost worthless because you went from paying, let's call it 100 kobo for something, and now that same thing is costing you, I don't know, 20,000 Naira. What style of life is that?
That's tough, Anzo, though. That leaves us in a very tough situation because we're talking about here in the US, the system is also designed to trap you.
It is.
And you get drowned into a capitalist system here. That if you're lucky, 40 years later, you might be able to go back home in Africa and escape this system.
Yep.
But then you're saying in Africa, the system is driven by the individual leader who's there. Is that what you're saying? A lot of the times.
A lot of the times, yeah.
And the problem is it's unstable. We've grew up reading history books talking about political instability in Africa due to civil wars or coup d'etats or, just a lot of instability across the systems of governance that makes it hard to invest in Africa. That's why investors don't want to come. People don't want to set up businesses. That's why doing business in Africa is so hard because the system of governance, checks and balances is unreliable.
It's unreliable. And I think, and this is not to say that unilaterally this happens.
Yes, we're not talking Africa as a one country here, but
we've seen examples of it where it's successful.
Where?
I think Nairobi is a good starting point for me. In Nairobi, I think just have a lot of
regardless of the leader, the president.
Yes.
In Kenya, the system will still prevail.
You see, I should say this carefully, because it's worked for those who have access to capital. For the average Kenyan citizen, like a young man or a young woman in Kenya who's just graduated today, I think more than not, you'll find that they're frustrated because they can't easily plug into the middle class or the working class to the level that they should be at. Kenya, to me, has one of the greatest education systems in the continent. I'd put it up there in the world. Kenyans are extremely smart.
Yeah.
But the brain drain that happens and causes them to now go and seek greener pastures, I think is a result of, at times, those who have access to capital, meaning outside investors, taking opportunities from the Kenyan onto ground. And so while they have a more robust middle class than, say, like a Uganda or a lot of other African countries, those issues still exist. Now, if you're thinking from a diasporan perspective, it's a golden opportunity because you're like, wait, my dollar goes a long way here. Why wouldn't I invest there? I think as we return, we need to be mindful of that because I believe we should be setting up ecosystems that benefit the man on the ground. So if you're going to invest back there, it's like, sure, make your money, make your whatever you're willing to get out of it, do that. But I think we should be mindful about what our footprint is, where we're leaving our footprint, right? Shout out to Dr. Ismaila. What he's doing with Innova RX is, I think, amazing because he's thinking about setting up an ecosystem on the ground, right? For Gambians by Gambians, right? And his investment is pulled by the black dollar, right? Despite the frustration he's gone through, the challenges, I should call it, the challenges he's gone through, I think that's an admirable thing because that dollar is circulating in the Gambian economy, or that Dalasi, I should call it. is circulating in the Gambian economy. And that model is very admirable for me, and I think it's applicable throughout the continent. My question is, infrastructurally, or from a governance perspective, is it set up to succeed and stand the test of time? I think I've seen good examples of that in Nairobi. I've seen it in Johannesburg. I've seen it in Cape Town. All right, let me not say Cape Town, but Johannesburg.
I don't agree. I say no to that question.
You say it's not possible?
Not right now. It seems Africa is very crowded.
Okay.
For us, even as a diaspora, to go back to all of those countries, it's crowded as in we have competition from other investors or foreigners.
Yeah.
That have, if anything, made under the table deals with the system, with people who govern the system, where for you who are actually from that country, now trying to generate and build and also impact the people where you're from, the system is working against you.
We agree on that one, yeah.
So as an African wanting to return back home to make impact, the system is not designed for me to do so.
Fully agree.
Because as you mentioned, unfortunately, our countries were failed post-colonialism. Most of them. I'm not speaking as in one, but most of them. As a West African, most of us failed post-colonialism. And we didn't build our own industries that we own, nationalized, that are operating and actually systematic in a way that allows young Gambian or African men to go from middle class to be able to generate wealth. That doesn't happen.
And incentivize them. Yeah, it doesn't.
We talked about it. Yeah. What is the number one way a person in Africa can become wealthy, generate wealth? What's the number one route?
Either leave the continent or you
climb your corruption ladder. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's just the reality.
And I think that's what I'm saying in a nutshell is like, I haven't seen a shining example of where this, actually, you could say Botswana is up there, but it's still like the biggest opportunities and the biggest should be producers don't do that. You can see Nigeria, you can see Congo. And by the way, this is also influenced by the West. A lot of it is. But you see examples of what could have been or what should be, but it's just not the case.
What did fellows say? Kleptocracy, kleptocracy. That is our fundamental problem in Africa. The few at the top who are supposed to be actually governing the system attain all the resources, and it trickles down to by the time it reaches what actually needs those resources, it's little to none.
Little to none. And corruption is a culture, by the way. I think people think that corruption is like this guy's in power and he's no, he's like the smallest piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
Corruption is a culture.
So that's the only system that works in Africa. Corruption.
Sure. And if you want to call it that, I mean, there's corruption everywhere in the world. But if you want to look at it as like what works, how can I get ahead? You gotta grease some pockets, man. And so I admire the U.S. in the sense that, like, from the time of inception to the implementation, you have a short runway. If you have ideas.
If you have ideas,
yes.
And you can execute, yes.
If you want to execute, and if you also continue to execute,
the
runway is short.
Yeah.
You are on a jet, and everybody else
can actually take off here.
You can take off visually. Everywhere else, you're on a propeller plane that you probably have to start up yourself, and then
too much baggage. Too much baggage. Plane's too heavy. Can't get off the ground.
And so, with the return to the continent, I really, you approach it optimistically, but you approach it very well aware of what the challenges that face.
Will you go back?
I want to.
We all want to, but will you really go back?
In what aspect? Because I will go back.
I'm saying realistically, in the next 10 years, could you see yourself going back?
Yes. I guess let me start with this. I'm taking, this, but I'm taking about a 6-month sabbatical.
Yes.
With majority of that being on the continent. My intention is to travel the whole continent, not 54 countries, but the major regions. So do West Africa, East Africa, South Africa, and document it.
Gather some data.
With the intention of gathering data points, and coming back and saying, is this executable? Can I do this thing? I have competencies that I believe in strongly, and I think I can be an asset to. Again, in line with my theme of Black liberation, yes. How can we collaborate? How can we put our heads together and say, this thing will work? If that means like, you're getting posted to Addis, or you're getting posted to Gaborone, or you're getting whatever the case may be, and there's a value prop there, why not? Why would I still be here? Why am I? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
So that's not to say that I'm abandoning here. There is a huge opportunity here, right? Like we said, there's a short runway. But where's my heart? My heart is there. You know what I'm saying? And like, if I can be instrumental in building systems that stick, consider me on the continent. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, my heart is there. I would love to be back. I'd love to wake up and, eat chakri, churagete, all the good stuff. Yeah. And I'm back home in the continent. Like, I would love that. That's like my Cinderella story in an ideal world. But again, looking at the realities, the possibilities, the opportunities, I'm not saying they're not there. It's a lot of challenges. And you have to be very strategic in all aspects. So we were sent here because the opportunities to be successful, our odds were higher being in the United States. That's why our parents brought us
exponentially.
Here. Right? Shorter runway.
Yeah.
But we are now realized, even being here, if you're not actually truly strategic in understanding how this country works, the system, and how to beat it and escape it, it's going to take you 40 years to realize it. You'll look back and 40 years of scarpening, and you're still paying bills and working and grinding it out.
The golden handcuffs.
It's the golden handcuffs.
It's the golden handcuffs.
So America is actually to get in and get out.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. I wish someone was telling me this. I wish I knew this earlier. This country actually, for us Africans who moved here, in my opinion, is to get in and get out.
It's a springboard.
It's a springboard.
Yeah.
Now, if you get in, this country is really good at holding you down.
Yeah.
It is extremely good at holding you down.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out how to free ourselves and get out. But when you go back home, like we mentioned, we need to also do so with resources.
And scalable ones too.
Yeah. And that's the big thing for me. Like, I want to go back home with resources that can actually allow me to, I don't want to say fight the system, but for sure have more ammunition than if I didn't and I wanted the system to work for me.
Yeah. Because it's not going to work.
It's not.
It's not going to work.
It's not. So yeah, that's how I see it. But yeah, in an ideal lifetime, that's what it is. And as soon as possible. I don't want to be, as soon as I can. Yeah. But obviously patience, it takes time. Rome wasn't built overnight.
It wasn't.
But that's the end goal.
It is. And I think in the pursuit of that,
Timbuktu wasn't built overnight. I stopped using Rome wasn't built overnight.
And I think in the pursuit of that, it's important that these conversations are had, because there's taboo subjects that people just don't talk about. And that worries me, because how will you, it's okay not to know something, but how will you know something and then not help the next man? That's that famine mentality, I think even, was it, somebody was telling me, and I think we've generally lived by this, but you can only lead from a place of abundance. You can't lead from a place of scarcity. So as you're going back, it's like, I'm willing to lose some, but like, I need to know that I need to have that conviction that like those losses will be overcome by like whatever light is at the end of the tunnel. And if I don't achieve it, then my children achieve that. But that is, the groundwork is laid by me and my peers. And then it's like, okay, we've tried to leave the world a better place. You guys pick up the mantle and keep pushing that direction. That's kind of my whole thing.
But one thing, Anzo, I'll add to that, which is a great proverb, is if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go farther, you have to go together.
Go together.
And that is, I feel like, our biggest power as us being here in the United States. Look at us. You're from Uganda, East Africa. I'm from the Gambia, West Africa.
Who would have thought we would ever meet in life?
Yes, exactly. But we have the same desired outcome for the continent. So is it going to be easier if you did it alone? Or if we now collectively become our own stakeholders in what we're chasing? And that's why I think we have this conversation, is to find like-minded people, because at the end of the day, the stronger we have our organization of aligned values and goals for what we want to be in, achieve in Africa, and collectively join forces, then that system back home too, it's not only fighting the system in Uganda. It now allows us to transcend those borders and become an immovable force.
Exactly. I think that that's a perfect analogy. And I think that Seattle was the example that showed me the possibility of that, because of how we interact with each other and how the dollar circulates here. Whether it's like, I'm going to go get my hair cut by a Black American, and then I'm going to go to eat food from a Jamaican, and then do business with a Ghanaian, and then go and party with a Nigerian, and then my best friend is Gambian. And then that rotating circle and ecosystem that was built, to me, was the perfect analogy.
We should do it here.
It's like, wait, we can just take this model, implement it back home, and then scale it. What is like, and that's why I think exposure is so important, because left to our own interpretations of the world, right, we don't get there. And so the exposure that we've been shown in this country,
we do it great here.
Go for it.
It started in college.
It started in college, the ASAs and the BSUs, and now it's like, oh, suddenly Black liberation seems closer than we actually thought.
Facts.
And again, that's been my theme for the year and for this new decade, but I still hold on to that dearly. Like, the power in numbers is it's undeniable, but you only get there by people wanting to be liberated. You can't get there without the help of other people. So that's my 2 cents on returning to the continent and what that could look like. Yeah, I see a lot to unpack there, and like then you're going down rabbit holes, but nonetheless,
I like that you're going back though, and you're gonna explore all the regions. Good luck in North Africa. But you'll
be going.
Yeah. But jokes aside, it's good to see the current state. Yeah. And it will give you, like you mentioned, the data. I can't wait to hear back your takeaways and see how far that is from a reality or not. Sometimes too, it's not going to be a perfect time to go.
Yeah.
But I think it's to understand, what do you need? What resources do you need from all levels, from an intellectual, financial, even the emotional, spiritual one, to withstand going back.
Fully agree.
Especially having molded our adult lives, being here in the U.S.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was like, I'd rather do it than not. Because I don't want to be is sitting somewhere later in life.
Nah.
Oh man, I wish I did it. And it's a crazy thing to do. Like, why would anyone leave a high paying corporate career to just take a leap of faith like that? It's unheard of, especially in this economy. And so, but again, I'm being led by faith on this one.
Yep.
And when we talk about spirituality, I think like we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I'm excited. And if I'm the guinea pig for it, if it works, if it doesn't, I know it'll work because God willing, I plan to document it very well. And
Please do.
yeah, we'll come back with more.
Okay.
But yeah, without losing track of time, I really enjoyed that conversation. That one was one that we can expand on, but obviously the goal is to get back. How we do so intentionally matters.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even talk about the outside forces that are plaguing, I should say, the continent.
Are we going back to some form of colonialism? Because I heard Ghana's trying to teach Chinese in their youth schools out here. So, like I said, it's getting crowded. So also, the longer we stay here, we might go back and there's no place for us.
Exactly.
Everything has been sold away or mortgaged away. Yeah. And we'll be in our own land being controlled and owned
or as visited
by non-natives.
Interesting conversation to have. But in the sake of time, I want to thank you all again for tuning in to episode 2, season 7.
Yes.
Chola Meets Tamati podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe, follow us, engage in the comments, like Substack.
We'll be engaging there. We'll be sending you emails, updates. So if you want to interact with us, we will be there.
Substack, but on all platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And yeah, that has been it. Signing off for episode 2. Gotta be easy.